Hey, how's it going? So, in this video, I'm going to share with you my 5-step research formula that's going to help you research any graduate scheme out there. So, research is obviously really important, and it's really important for your graduate schemes because number one, the companies like to toot their own horn. So, if you know more about the company than your peers, then you seem to come across as someone who knows their shit, and it's just better for the recruiters because they're like those type of people. Secondly, they want to know if you're actually serious about working for that company. If you haven't done your research, then of course you won't know much about the company, and it will show. And yeah, you want to come across as someone who knows about the company, what they do, and wants to work with them for those reasons. And yeah, I'm going to give you the 5-step checklist that you can ensure to make sure that you have a good understanding of the company. And if you just use this 5-step checklist, just use it on all of the schemes that you're going to be applying to. And if you use the 5-step checklist, then at least you'll have a framework there. You'll know that you've not missed out anything. And it just makes things a little bit easier as to, what to research and where to find that information. Okay, so what are you going to research? So here are the 5 steps or the 5 checklists basically. Um, Let me break this down by getting my pen out. So we've got what does the company do? And you can find this on the graduate scheme page. So when you're applying for the graduate scheme, they usually have a bit of a section there that talks about what the company does. Very, very important. So note that down. What are the company values? Again, you can find this on the company website. So this might not be on the graduate scheme page, but if you research the actual company website, you should be able to find some sort of values or core ethics that the company abides by. And this is really important because you want to use this in your interviews and you want to bring this up. So you want to talk about these core values and actually you want to align yourself with these core values. Don't need to be those core values in your own life, but you need to act as though you have those in your own life. So, for example, if one of the core values is that, um, I don't know, always learning or something like that, always trying to learn new things, that could be one of the values. I'm just giving you an example. Then in the interview, you can mention that and also say, well, that aligns with my values as well, because I always like to learn new things. So that is very important to know what those values are for that company so you can, play on that a little bit. The third thing is any company achievements. So these are things like diversity initiatives or training initiatives that the company offers. And you can find this again on the company website as well. And sometimes you can actually find that on the graduate scheme website as well because they like to kind of advertise those things to try and get you interested in the graduate scheme. So definitely mention those things again. You want to play on this in the interview and you also want to play on this in, your tests and stuff as well. Um, then we've got market and financial position. So this basically is just a bit of a flex move, to be honest, because a lot of people might not be able to get accurate information on this because there's sometimes a lot of layers preventing you from seeing financial reports and stuff. But there's nothing stopping you from Googling something like end of year financial report and then put the name of the company in, and some sort of document will come up. Just obviously check that it's a legitimate document, but this again, like I said, is just a bit of a muscle flex because if you're there talking about how the company is doing within its market and what sort of money it's making, then that's, dare I call it, a bit of a show-off move, but it'll put you quite far ahead of other candidates as well, who obviously can't speak about this confidently. And then we have the fifth one, which is the actual grad scheme hiring process, and you can find this on the grad scheme page as well. They should list that out for you, so that you can prepare for that. So the thing is, these are the 5 steps that you need to take, sort of like a checklist. So just mark it off, and you want to stay organized with this because you're going to be doing this with like every scheme that you apply to, and sometimes you can get these things muddled up. I've shared on my YouTube channel before as well where there was an instance where I wasn't organized and I had written some of these bits down for another scheme, and graduate scheme A and graduate scheme B called me, and it was a similar graduate scheme. They started asking me all these questions, and I was actually reading off graduate scheme A details, and they were like, yeah, so okay, so we don't actually do this, but yeah, that's fine. And I was like, oh shit, actually, I've just read out the wrong information for the wrong company. So don't get yourself muddled up. Make sure that you stay organized. But yeah, this is basically the 5-step formula. What does a company do? Because you want to know what the company provides, what's the deliverables, what's the business that they actually provide. What are the company values? Right, try and find these out. You want to align to these in your interviews. You want to mention it in your interviews. Any company achievements, again, you want to play on this in your interviews. Market and financial positions, again, you want to play on this in your interview. And then graduate scheme hiring process, this is more for you so that you know what's going on. Here are a couple of other things to consider as well. So the salary and benefits. These are all things when you're researching, these are all for you. They're not really things that you're going to play on or use in the graduate recruitment process to help you win at the process. These are more for yourself. So you need to consider the salary and benefits. Obviously, that's one of the first things you'll probably look at. It's not the most important thing in graduate schemes because they're not all going to be as highly paid as someone who's experienced. Some are really high paid. For example, Aldi just pays you like 50 grand. But typically you're not going to get that high much, like you're not going to get paid that much in majority of the graduate schemes. Those come under the minority. Maybe some law firms and some accountancy graduate schemes I think pay more than that. Investment banks, they like to pay shitloads, but generally it's not something that's going to be a make or break. Yeah, here's the salary. All right, fair enough. That's about it. But it's still important to consider because you might have to move for a graduate scheme. So if you're going to a certain location where the expenses are high, then you need to check that the salary actually covers your expenses or it's enough for you to live off. The location of the scheme. So depending on if you want to move or travel or not, you might not want to move. So you want to make sure that the graduate scheme is near to you, that you can commute there. A lot of graduate schemes do make you move around, so that's something to consider as well because it is quite a big. I guess if you don't have that many like family commitments and stuff, or you're not really, running around with family, or like you've got that many responsibilities, it might not be a big deal. But if you're someone who's a little bit more has a family, or you've got people that you're responsible for, or you're looking after someone who's elderly or something like that, then this might be a problem. So just something to keep in mind. The training structure and opportunities, you want to check what sort of training is it? Is it like an ongoing graduate scheme, like I know in the IT consulting space or just general management consulting space where I am? The graduate schemes are just like you just roll off when you need to, or you just move out of that graduate scheme, or you move into another company. There's no like set years, but in some graduate schemes, for example, like Network Rail, they have a 2-year fixed period where you're in a graduate scheme, you get moved about, and then it's the end of the graduate scheme, so you've got to make a move. So in that, there's going to be like a structured training program. So it's good to just know what kind of training and opportunities you're going to get. Work environment, that's also something to consider as well. It's all good, going into a graduate scheme and just trying to grab what you can get. But if you end up in a shitty, toxic environment, it's going to make your life an absolute misery. And believe it or not, there are some graduate schemes out there that have got really, really bad reviews. Um, so, definitely make sure you go to glassdoor.com. That's the best website to check reviews and stuff on there because the companies can't actually take the reviews off from that website. So really, really important to check that out as well, just to make sure that there's no like glaring problems or anything. And then exit and progression strategy. Going into your graduate scheme, you want to also just keep in mind, like if you were to go into that graduate scheme, what kind of exit opportunities do you have? Is it something, and this can vary from scheme to scheme and industry to industry. For example, something like in engineering, you might just go into a 2-year program and then you just exit out, or you just progress into a senior engineer, and that's about it. So maybe you might want to research what those senior engineers are getting paid at that company, just so that you can plan ahead and see if it's worth it. In some industries, for example, like in consulting, there's no like the progression is basically upwards or onwards, right? So you actually exit from your consulting firm or whatever, you can go into independent contracting, or you can go into another firm where you're on the big books, or you can do something else, so set up your own company or something like that. So again, just something to keep in mind, not necessarily as important as it should be at the moment, but it's just something to keep in mind as well, just so that when you're looking at different graduate schemes, you might want to pick one that has something that has a better progression or better exit strategy. So, just to help you with the graduate hiring process, you can check out my free graduate scheme success guide, which is linked in the description below. It's um, basically the secret strategies that I use to secure multiple graduate schemes. I share with you the secrets to securing a graduate scheme this year. I also give you some winning strategies for the tests, the interviews, and the assessment centers. And then I also, as a bonus, I'm going to send you some free exclusive video coaching sessions straight to your inbox. And I only share these with the people on my email list, and basically break down all the stuff that you need. And I share a little bit about my story as well and the stuff that I learned. Download link to this is going to be in the description below. It's completely free, so you can download it and start using it to help you with your graduate scheme applications. And this is also a form of researching as well. So kind of did a bit of a double whammy there. All right, so thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please click the like button, and yeah, I'll see you next week.